Hello guys, welcome back to another video. So in today's video we will be doing the September 2022 economics common test for grade 11s, and thank you guys for tuning in. And in this video we'll be starting with section B and C only, so I will not be doing section A with the multiple choice questions. So we'll just be heading to longer questions. I hope you enjoy this video. To my subscribers, thank you very much for coming back, and those who are new, hi, welcome, and I hope you stay. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And now, without wasting any more of your precious time, let's get into it. All right, so here we are on section B. Answer any one question of the two in this section. So you will be given two questions in section B, sorry, and then you will answer either of the two questions. So you don't answer both the questions, you choose one that you know the best. How do you choose which one you know the best? You just go through the questions and mark yourself. If you know, just tick it with a pen or your pencils, the answers that you know, and compare the two questions to know which one you know better. Okay, that's how you are going to make the best choice for yourself. So then just go with the first one. Look at what do you really know. Do you know banking? Do you know economic development? What do you know? Okay, so that is how you're going to choose. Now 2.1, answer the following questions. So you can try to answer these questions. 2.1.1 says mention any two measures of inequalities among countries. So how is inequality in a country measured, or among countries? We say there's inequality between two countries or one. Like, what measure do we use in economics to measure the inequality among countries? So let's say we're taking Botswana and South Africa. What measures or curves or whatever do we use to measure the inequality between Botswana and South Africa? So you have to mention two. So it's the Lorenzo curve and the Gini coefficient. Okay, I'll show you the memo. It's not a problem, but yeah, we see if you know your work, right? So 2.1.2 says, why would some people choose to use loan checks to borrow money? Who are loan checks? Those people that are it's probably a woman next door, a man in the same street as you. You just tell them, hey, I need 500 rand, I'll bring it month end, and they tell you the interest is 40% or 30%. They're usually high. They usually charge high interest rates as compared to other financial institutions like banks. So why is it easy for people to go there? Why do they prefer loan checks to borrow money? So that is how you answer this question. It's easy to get loans from them because there's no need for security. Okay, you do not need security. Just tell the person, I'll pay month end. If you don't pay for 3 months, they'll probably go into your house and take a fridge or whatever valuable that you have in there. So you don't have security like in banks, where you have to show your bank statements, you have to show your pay slips and all of that to prove income, basically. So with loan checks, you don't have to prove that you receive income. Okay, and that's why. After this question 2, we will go and see the memo. So don't worry if you didn't get some of the things that I said, as long as you understand the question and how you answer it. Okay, so study the cartoon below and answer the questions that follow. Developing countries. It says, I won't pay until you clean up your act. Developed countries. So that one is developing countries. At the top there, that guy who's looks like is trying to burn something there. And then the developed countries, everything seems to be going well, and the person has ate all those dishes, while that one has not even eaten anything. Okay, so the developed countries says, I won't pay until you. The developed country says to the developing country, I will not pay until you clean up your act. Okay, so here you have to know economic development, that chapter. So 2.2.1 says, identify the term that is associated with poor countries from the cartoon. So developing countries are associated with poor countries. Okay, so you must know that developing country is the word. And then 2.2.2 says, mention any two developed countries in the world. Countries which are regarded as first class countries are the ones that are developed. Like all the other small countries, like African countries, look up to these countries, like France, Germany, every country in Europe, in the UK, America, yeah. So America specifically, the other part of America, not the entire America, because we know we have North and South America. So you look at Canada, there you look at the United States of America. Those are the countries that we recall when we think about countries that are developed. Okay, and then briefly describe the term economic development. What is economic development? When we say the economy of a certain country is developed. So economic development is a continuous improvement in the standard of living of the majority of the citizens. So if the standard of living of people in a country are continuously improving due to infrastructural development, creation of jobs, then that means the country is a developed country. Okay, and then here we will say 2.2.4, why is it important for countries to implement proper development strategies? Why is it important that we as a country develop proper development strategies? Why is it important that we develop strategies that will help our country to develop? Why is it important? Like, you can just answer this, guys. As long as you know what is economic development, then it's easy for you to answer these questions. Okay, so think. Countries need to have a development strategies so that economic balance is achieved. We are gonna have a balance in the economy. People will get jobs. That's another reason you can say there will be improvement in the standard of living of a country if development strategies are in place. And then 2.2.5 says, how can labor productivity contributes towards economic growth? Labor productivity, meaning labor being productive, meaning people working. How can people working contribute towards economic growth? It means that ensuring high productivity will result in low costs per quantity. A lot of people are working. China has got it right. So a lot of people are working. So which means a quantity will be a quantity produced will cost less to buy. Okay, when labor productivity increases, that is how it will contribute towards economic growth. There will be low production costs. So study the following extract and answer the questions that follow. What's driving hunger in Gauteng, South Africa's economic powerhouse? In Gauteng, about 35% of the population is lacking food security. They have, at the very least, skipped a meal because there was insufficient money for food. Food service as one of the critical needs a person requires for daily survival in South Africa is recognized as a fundamental human right under the country's constitution. Approximately 11%, which is about 6.5 million, of South Africa's population is hungry and food insecure. Conflicts and insecurity, climate change, poverty, and population growth are primary drivers of human hunger and food insecurity. So security is assurance, okay? Security is protection. Insecurity is when you have no protection, no assurance, okay? So it's very important that you know the terms, understand what is being meant, okay? It's important for you to understand your texts and understand the terms that are used in order for you to be able to answer all these questions that will be asked of you. Okay? Yes, grade 11s. So let's look at 2.3.1. You can pause this video, guys. Try to answer these questions and then play it after and see if you got them right. So that is another way to see where you are. It's September. We close in next month and tests are already on the way. 2.3.1 says identify the basic need that is mentioned in the text below. We're talking about food. Okay, so I would say food or food security. You can just write food or food security. The answer will be correct. And then 2.3.2 says, what is the percentage of people living in hunger in South Africa? Well, percentage of people living in hunger in South Africa is 35%. And then briefly describe the term standard of living. Standard of living is the ability of a person to provide their needs. Okay, so that is the standard of living. If the standard of living is bad, the person will not be able to afford their basic needs. But if the standard of living is better, that person is able, without no doubt, to afford their basic needs. So 2.3.4, it says, why is economic growth important for the people living in poverty? Why is the growth of our economy important for people living in poverty? They are able to what? We will be able to have jobs. So the creation of jobs will take place and people who live in poverty will be able to provide for themselves. So that is one benefit of having economic growth benefiting the poor. 2.3.5 says, explain how economic growth is related to economic development. When the economy grows, it develops the standard of living of a country. Like, guys, if there are more jobs created and so forth, we are able to live in a way that is comfortable. Okay, we are able to be comfortable as people of South Africa. So I'm saying we should look at the possible answers from the memo. I'll still go up and show you the beginning of it. So we were on 2.3.4. So why is economic growth important for the people living in poverty? Employment opportunities are created and it increases possibilities for a society to consume more goods to satisfy their needs. And then they say, accept any other relevant answer. So you're not limited to this. Anything that connects to why economic growth is important for people living in poverty, then you are going to get your marks. Okay, it's 2 marks, so you need a full 1 point written in a full sentence. And then 2.3.5 says, analyze the objectives of economic development. Objectives are what does economic development want to achieve? Those are the objective. So you state the objectives of economic development. What does the economic development want to achieve? It wants to break the cycle of poverty. It wants to increase production and stimulate job creation. Or it wants to explore alternative measures of economic well-being, such as leisure time, environmental quality, freedom, and social justice. So countries are able to be safe as well with economic growth. Or any other relevant response will be taken as long as it's an objective of economic development. Look at developed countries and then draw your conclusion of what outcome has those countries gotten. What are they enjoying? Those things that those countries are enjoying, that is objective of economic development. Like also infrastructure. Economic development objective is to have improved infrastructure. And then 2.4 says, discuss low productivity and high levels of unemployment as characteristics of developing countries. So you're going to discuss on low productivity and high levels of unemployment. Low productivity is a characteristic. How do you know that this country is developing? Because there's low productivity and there's high levels of unemployment. So you talk about low productivity in detail and high levels of employment. I hope you have taken this chapter at school and you understand it. So developing countries are highly characterized by low levels of labor productivity. The main cause of low productivity are low educational standards within the country, a lack of investment in physical capital, and inadequate healthcare services, ECT. So lower levels of productivity results in higher cost of production per unit. Okay, that is how low productivity affects, or how does it take place, or how does it affect people in developing countries. And then how does the National Development Plan aims to achieve its objective? The NDP, National Development Plan. So the National Development Plan aims to achieve its objectives by uniting South Africans of all races and classes around a common program to eliminate poverty and reduce inequality, encouraging citizens to be active in their own development, rising economic growth, promoting exports, and making the economy more labor absorbing. Or again, is focusing on key capabilities of both people and the country, such as skills, infrastructure, ECT. Okay, so let me show you the answers that I gave you. So 2.2.1, 2.1.2, those are all the answers. For question 2. Now let's go to question 3. Here we are on question 3. I'm showing you the answers already. So, name the following questions. Name any 2 methods to achieve economic growth. We're going to use the macro strategy and the micro strategy. So those are the 2 methods we use to achieve economic growth, or any other relevant answer. So you can use you can state others. How can the new growth part speed up economic and social development? The new growth path. So the new growth path can speed up economic and social development by tackling joblessness, poverty, and inequality. So they have to tackle joblessness. The new growth path has to tackle joblessness, poverty, and inequality in order to speed up economic and social development. And it has to focus on supporting knowledge and capital-intensive industries such as IT, scientific research, and manufacturing. So let's look at this picture and answer the questions that follow. Identify the authority figure that is featured in the above picture. Is not clear, but it is the government. And then 3.2.2 says mention the state department that support the use of traditional use in the economy. Well, that is the Department of Traditional Affairs. I briefly describe the term indigenous knowledge system. So everything that you know, let's say this was not even proven by science or whatever, but your people believe that this is true about a particular thing. Okay, maybe about clouds. It says when clouds are like this is going to rain or what. That is regarded as indigenous knowledge. Things that people did not go to school for, things that have not been tested, but have just people have made conclusion based on observation, or the thing continuously happening. That is indigenous knowledge. So it's anything that you know has not been proven, but you know that works. So indigenous knowledge is the traditional, local, and technologies that developed over time around specific conditions by communities living in a particular geographic area. So they're only known to people living in a specific geographic area and not widely known by everybody. So any response you take, any explanation you give will be accepted as long as it's true. It's a true definition of indigenous knowledge. So, explain the economic benefit of promoting traditional systems for the developing rural communities. So, what are economic benefit of promoting traditional systems? They can create um, businesses. Okay, their indigenous knowledge can be used to help other communities beyond their communities. So that is how they can improve. So developing rural communities will get to participate meaningfully in the economy by supplying the mainstream economy with traditional aspects such as certain plants that grow only in their area, and they can sustain their livelihood by moving from subsistence agriculture to commercial agriculture. Maybe they plant something in a small scale just to feed the community, but now they can feed even more people. Why is indigenous solution to South African problems? Why indigenous solutions to South African problems may often be better solutions? They have been tested over time and they are trusted. So people are not using propaganda or trying to score points by trying to appear educated. Okay, so everybody does that thing to benefit people. So that is how it can benefit. So because it's achieved the following: recognition and respect for indigenous people in Africa as well, and then participation of indigenous African people in events held by the United Nations and other international forums. So it's able to uplift them as well and put them in global stages. This is the South African micro lender plans to launch digital banks. So the South African microlender BACO wants to launch a digital banking offering with Swiss banking software company Temenos. Temenos announced on Wednesday, 27th of October, that it will enter the local banking industry through BACO by integrating its banking platform. BACO Loans already operates as a microfinance institution in South Africa with 188 branches across the country. The group offers small loans and funeral covers, but has now applied for a mutual banking license to operate as a full-service digital bank. Name any service that is offered by BACO Lending. 3.3.2 says which foreign institution is this local business intending to partner with. It's intending to partner with which one? Let's see. BACO is become Temenos. Yes, that's who BACO is intending to partner with. Briefly describe the term microfinance. Okay, in the memo, they are not. You see, 3.3.2 is supposed to be 3.3.1, and then I don't know what happened there. The services, yes, is funeral cover, mutual banking, and digital banking. So, describing the term microfinance. Microfinance is the provision of finance services to low-income clients. So, they are focusing on low-income clients and not bigger one. Okay, not like those big banks. So, explain the main purpose of the existence of the Development Bank of Southern Africa. So, this bank provides funding for small and medium-sized companies when they part of the government approved project to build Africa's prosperity through growth and securing innovative solutions that drive socio-economic development in emerging economies in Southern Africa. So how is the micro lending industry regulated in South Africa? It is regulated by in anything that gives credit is regulated by the National Credit Act. So they have to provide a fair and open credit market, establish credit policies and legal framework to protect consumers and credit providers. And then discuss medium of exchange and unit of account as functions of money. So medium of exchange is money is generally accepted and approved by law as medium of exchange and means of payment all over the world. And then unit of account says A common unit is necessary to set a value or a price on goods or services. So any 2 points for medium of exchange and unit of account will give you 4 marks. How does Millennium Development Goals aim to achieve its goals? By wiping out extreme poverty, ensuring primary education everywhere in the world, promoting gender equality and women empowerment, and ACT. Now let's look at the essay question. Question 4 says, discuss the method used by government to redistribute income and wealth. You know that there's inequality between the high earners and the low earners in South Africa. So how is the government bridging the gap between the high earners and the low earners? For 26 marks. And then for 10 marks is an additional question. You analyze the cause of uneven distribution of income in South Africa. How come there are people who are earning so high and people who are earning so low in South Africa? And so you need to discuss that for 10 marks. Just give 5 points and then what is the cost of it, and then you get your marks. Discuss the additional parts are always easy, guys, so think about them. Question 5 says, discuss in detail the main function of the South African Reserve Bank. What is the function of the South African Reserve Bank, and how can the Reserve Bank use monetary policy to increase money supply in a country? So you have to know that. So with essay question, this is the structure of the essay. Introduction is a lower order response. So a good starting point with the introduction is to start with defining the concept. So if you will just check at discuss the method used by the government to redistribute income. What is income redistribution of wealth? What is redistribution of wealth? Or those are the things that you can start inside the redistribution of wealth. You can decide what to use as a way of definition. You can define redistribution of income. What is redistribution of income? Redistribution of income is when the government is making sure that they close the gap between the poor and the struggling people, the high income earners and the low ones. So that is how you define. Do not include any part of the question in your introduction. Do not include part of the introduction in your body. So you cannot repeat things. You get 2 marks for that. That's how you do your introduction. I have done a video, you can check it out, where I show how to write an essay question. And then a body has main part, that is 26, and additional part is 6. So conclusion is a higher order conclusion. Is either you give a brief summary of what you've discussed. In conclusion, you can give your opinion as well. You can give additional support information, or you can give a contrary viewpoint with motivation, or you can just give a recommendation to improvement. How can government do more to redistribute income in your conclusion for 2 marks? So look, redistribution is a process of reallocating income, wealth, and resources equally among the citizens to reduce social and economic inequality. Any other suitable introduction, as I have also given mine, will be gladly accepted. And then the main part, now here you're going to discuss the methods of redistribution. They use tax, they use payments in kind, they use education, they use labor practices and microeconomic policy redistribution methods. So you're going to discuss them in detail. With taxation, the government can begin to ensure redistribution by using taxation. So progressive tax systems could be used, since it states that the higher income pay more tax. So with tax, the higher you earn, the more tax you pay. That is how they redistribute wealth. And then with social grants as well. So everybody, even those who are not working, can be able to get something in order for them to be left and go down the ladder. So cash grants are paid by the government to receivers without any service being rendered. So they help the poor face the basic cost of living in the country. That is how they use social grants. Guys, you don't have to write here. Write in your own words, okay? Write in your own words. Explain your own words and you get your marks. And then payments in kind these are essential services that the government ensure they are provided to the needy free of charge. So they provide certain services to the needy free of charge in order for them not to be so poor and left out. With education, they improve educational system, increase educational levels in low-income families in a country. So giving free education is also one of those redistribution methods. And the labor practice, elimination of the labor inequality, improve the general work conditions for all South Africans. So people are not given posts because of color, gender, and so forth. No favoritism. And then microeconomic policy, where the benefits of strong microeconomic performance and economic growth is that tax revenue generated to fund social expenditure. So they use tax to fund social expenditure. And then redistribution method, whereby South Africa's transformation since 1994 has emphasized strategies for eliminating inequality and living conditions for all South Africans. And then for the additional part, uneven distribution of income exists because lack of education and training, unequal ownership of resources and wealth, family sizes, discrimination, culture and personal preferences, or inheritance passed on from one generation to the next ensures that wealth remains in the hands of the few. Or apartheid. And then conclusion says some government policies are geared towards addressing economic inequality while others address wealth redistribution. It's an opinion or a fact. So question 5, discuss in detail the main functions of the South African Reserve Bank. You can say what is the South African Reserve Bank, because you are not asked to define Reserve Bank. You're just asked to give the main functions of the Reserve Bank. So in the introduction, you can say what is the South African Reserve Bank, so that you do not repeat the same thing in the introduction and in the body. The South African Reserve Bank acts as a banker and funding agent to government, issues coins and banknotes, is custodian of gold and foreign reserves, sets the monetary and exchange rate policy, controls inflation, and it is a lender in the last resort, controls the bank and the banking system, complies and publishes macroeconomic data. Additional part, buying of financial security to expand the supply of money, selling of financial securities to limit the supply of money. So setting low percentages, that will be the response to how can the Reserve Bank use the monetary policy to increase money supply in the country. So this is how it can use it. And that is your conclusion. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Until the next video.